Story 1. If you're working an honest and hard job, you should never be ashamed of what the job actually is. I will never understand society raising humans to be ashamed because their job is not seen as glamorous as others. Nobody should be ashamed of any work they do to make an honest living. Story 2. Having been homeless, it's a real struggle, and we're lucky if we make it out of it. We shouldn't be judged poorly. We should be able to say, I survived. Story 3. Anything that brings you joy, anyone who tries to take that away is a jerk. I had a friend who liked Justin Bieber, and people were making fun of him, so I stepped in. Why would you try to ruin something that someone enjoys? Story 4. Going into therapy. I think most people could use some sessions. We all have something that could benefit from talking to someone. We have to stop the stigma. Story 5. Where you live. I own a mobile home and dislike the stigma and jokes. It doesn't matter if you live here, in an apartment, a traditional house, or anywhere. Story 6. Getting old, especially for women, is almost considered a sin. It's as if we don't matter if men don't find us desirable anymore. We constantly have to strive to hide the effects of aging, as if it is some hideous crime. Story 7. I don't know if shame is the right word, maybe embarrassed, but a person's laugh or their smile. Personally, I always do a Mona Lisa smile in photos because I'm self-conscious about how my top lip basically disappears when I smile. Story 8. Not being in the same situation as your peers. I see a lot of people who feel like something is wrong with them because they are not married or do not have kids or are not in a certain place in their career. None of that matters unless it is something you want in your life. Story 9. Disability, different abilities, lost abilities, and the general physical degeneration that comes with aging and chronic conditions. We're often embarrassed by our bodies, feeling ashamed when they naturally don't work as expected. It's not shameful when they don't function properly. Story 10. Sometimes people get confused between being ashamed of actions they have done and being ashamed of who they are. Nobody should be ashamed of who they are. Story 11. Your partner's lack of effort should not reflect my value or worth. It is currently day 11 of being separated, and I am letting go of the feeling of shame that I wasn't enough. He was just the wrong person. Story 12. Vulnerability. Sometimes you lose a job, sometimes you lose your home, sometimes you lose your health, sometimes you lose a person, and so on. Not everyone is doing poorly, but certainly not everyone is doing great, especially in every single aspect of life. Story 13. Not driving for any personal reasons. Medical history, scars, not trying to impress others, financial struggles, being single, not wanting kids, trauma. Story 14. Anything, as long as it doesn't hurt an innocent child or animal. You should not be ashamed of being you as long as it does not hurt any innocent being. Story 15. Not knowing. Just in general, being able to say, I do not know the answer to that is perfectly okay. It is so much better than thinking you know or pretending to know when you do not know. Story 16. Enjoying something. Being a fan of a sports team, captivated by a song, excited by a TV show, yearning for a particular type of pizza. Loving parts of the human experience is the most quintessentially human part of being human. Story 17. Having a mental illness. I'm so tired of people not getting the help they need and living with a poor quality of life due to the stigma. I have bipolar disorder. Trust me, I'm probably crazier than you. You've got nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about. Story 18. Before clicking the upvote button or the downvote button, hear me out. Autism. I have a friend who has what's formally known as Asperger's, and he often feels ashamed to be autistic because he faces discrimination on nearly a daily basis, and it breaks his heart. Story 19. Making questions when you don't understand something. Why would you be ashamed of getting proper information? Would you rather be quiet and purposely ignorant? Story 20. Mental illness. No one is shamed for getting a physical illness. Mental illness is just as blameless. Without shame, more people might get the medical help that they need instead of hiding their problem. Story 21. Owning a sex toy is quite common. Nearly everyone engages in that activity using their hands, so a toy shouldn't be seen as unusual. In many cases, They are more sanitary and clean since you don't use your hands directly. Couples also benefit from toys, as they can bridge the gender gap by purchasing a few specifically made for couples. Story 22. Being vulnerable in any shape or form. Do not censor yourself if you want to say that corny joke or share something personal. If the people around you mock you or make you feel bad for it, they are not your people. Story 23. Their sexuality, provided it's not murder, pedophilia, or rape fetish. And to this day, people still hound others for having sexual preferences or fantasies they know aren't real and are just a game or form of play. Story 24. Being a virgin. I was until I was 26. Oddly, people made it into a bigger deal when I was younger than when I was older. And in that same vein, being single. I dated 2 boys in high school and was single for 11 years by choice until I met my partner at 29. Those 11 years gave me the time to learn to enjoy my own company and get to know myself as a whole and complete person, because that's exactly what I am. I fell in love with many different things and people in many different ways and learned that romantic love is not a necessity but is nice to have. You don't need someone to complete you. You need someone to complement you. There's truth to the saying, you need to love yourself for someone to love you. Story 25. Having a menial job takes all types of people in all sorts of jobs to make a society function. If we didn't have people willing to be plumbers, we would be swimming in sewage. If we didn't have trash collectors, we would be living in a sea of garbage. Be respectful of all the other trades and jobs. Story 26. My brother has mild neurofibromatosis and is so ashamed despite me always telling him he has nothing to be ashamed about. He didn't choose this. It doesn't get through to him. Story 27. Yes, I'm a stranger. But also, when was your last period? And are you sexually active? It's really not a big deal. Story 28. Liking animation. Just because it's not real people doesn't mean it's preschool nonsense or inappropriate content. There's so much you can do and has been done with it that can't be done in real life. But so many adults can't sit through anything animated, no matter what it's about. The current state of the industry is really sad, because who's going to defend those who make cartoons when it's not seen as worthy entertainment? Story 29. Having to live in their car while working full-time. The cost of living is insane, and many more people are forced to live in their cars now, and we just ignore each other. I wish people were more like, hey, I see you parked in the same lot as me. Things are rough for you too? Let's be friends and talk about it. Story 30. The things they enjoy. I see so many posts on Reddit's No Stupid Questions and such, asking the same question over and over again. Is it okay that I like things people like me normally aren't interested in? Or it's inverse? Yes, it's okay to enjoy what you enjoy. It is, in fact, even okay to tell anyone who doesn't like the fact that you enjoy it to get bent. Story 31. Being yourself and being different. Forget what others think. I get it. I've been down that road a few times before. It can be easy to get caught in someone else's opinion, even when it's not directed towards you. Just remind yourself of what you like to do and what makes you happy. Story 32. What other people think about them. Seriously, life is too short to spend it wondering about what people think about you. So long as it's not hurting anyone or illegal, you do you. Story 33. Growing up with abusive caretakers made them feel worthless, but they didn't know what they did wrong. So they carried a sense of intangible, diffuse shame throughout their lives, which influences every part of their existence. It wasn't your fault. You can leave it behind. You can create your own life now. They are not in charge of your being. Story 34. Other people seeing them naked or in their underwear. Like we all don't know you are wearing underwear and are naked under your clothes? Like we ourselves are not wearing underwear and are naked under our clothes? Like we have no idea what female or male genitalia look like, and it would be so shocking for anyone to see yours? Story 35. Failure. This shows you're trying and learning, hopefully. As Albert Einstein so famously said, a person who never made a mistake never tried anything new. Story 36. Watching cartoons as an adult, and this includes kids' cartoons, can be absolutely fantastic. It's nice to take a break from the crushing current events of the day to watch a family of dogs be wholesome. Also, I want to give a shout out to the DuckTales reboot, Amphibia, and the Owl House. Oh, and gravity falls. Story 37. Needing help. I'm gearing this one towards parents, although no one should be ashamed of needing it in any aspect. The need for a village to raise a child never went away. It just seems like parents started being expected to do it all at home while working 2 or 3 jobs. Others have adopted the attitude of, "You can't tell me how to raise my child," even though none of us know what we're doing. Story 38. As a pharmacist, not having insurance or being able to afford your medications, I want you to get your medications. I don't want you to have to choose between which one you need more or between medications or a meal tonight. If that means me calling the doctor that prescribed you something too expensive and recommending something less expensive that will also work, I'll gladly do it. We typically know what's covered and all of the options, not just doctor favorites. If you need coupon help, I got you. Please don't be afraid to ask. I know there are pharmacists out there that don't have the same views as me, but I will go to war for you to get you affordable care. Also, no disrespect to doctors. A lot don't know how much the medication will be and are willing to work with us to make sure you're taken care of. Story 39. Being yourself. Being non-heteronormative. Being transgender or gay and so on. Live and let live. We are all trying to live our best lives and be happy. You are allowed to do what you want to do in this world, and nobody should tell anyone differently. As long as what you are doing is not exploiting someone or harming another person, why would it matter? Stay in your lane. Do you? We're all trying to do us. Story 40. Women should never be ashamed of or apologize profusely for their periods, especially to men. If you never want to have sex and remain a virgin until the day you die, that is completely okay. It can be a permanent decision, and there is nothing wrong with you. Story 41. First of all, I scrolled for a decent chunk of time and yet I still didn't see it, so sexual impulses and thoughts. Wanting sexual intimacy, having sex, thinking about someone sexually, you name it. You are not a monster for feeling things that most human beings feel. You are not a monster for having thoughts and feelings you can't really control. This especially applies to partners of asexual people. I've heard multiple cases where people feel like a horrible person just because they think about their partner sexually and want to do sexual things with them, but in reality, it's completely okay and perfectly normal. In fact, you should probably just have a conversation with them about what they're willing to do. Asexual is an umbrella term for many kinds of people that are fine with many different things. I myself am asexual, and my ex went through this too. I still regret not expressing all of this more, even though I did try my best to say it. The point that we should draw the line at is not asking permission when you do something that you haven't clarified the recipient is okay with, or saying sexual things with absolutely no filter without having clarified the people you're talking to are okay with it. Needless to say, sexual assault is never acceptable, and being grossly inappropriate can be extremely harmful to the people around you. Having no filter is especially a problem for teenagers, I think, which I've had to experience firsthand, and it's messed me up. However, the only unacceptable thing about being a sexual person is how stigmatized it is by society, despite the very same people doing the exact things they criticize. Secondly, being obsessed with your interests or a fictional character. There is nothing wrong with liking something to the point of having an obsession with it, and in my opinion, it's a great source of joy and comfort. As someone with undiagnosed but extremely likely attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I've experienced this too, and it hurts people deeply. Having interests in general tends to be way too stigmatized, as if liking something makes someone weak or vulnerable, when the two things have absolutely nothing to do with each other. You should be able to like what you want without people judging you, no matter who you are. And as for hyperfixations on fictional characters, it's the same case. Fictional crushes, especially, seem to be unnecessarily criticized. It's not harmful. It's not creepy. You just feel attracted to them, and that's okay. I kind of got tired of typing though, so I'm not going to be as detailed with this point. Basically, your thoughts, feelings, and interests are valid. Don't let anyone stop you from liking something if it's perfectly benign to do so. Story 42. Being a recovering or recovered addict. At my job, I see a lot of people who are embarrassed about their past addiction. I am not there to judge. I've never been an addict to anything but caffeine, but my grandfather told me that being a recovering addict is a battle every single day, and I believe he was right. Story 43. Not a certain thing in particular, but no one should be ridiculed for asking questions. Just because something seems simple to you does not mean it is simple to someone else. If they ask you for details or just about something you are knowledgeable about, do not make them feel bad for not knowing the answer. Story 44. Wishing they had more friends or people in their lives than they actually do. I see this sentiment everywhere. It is honestly fascinating how so many people feel this way and yet have been unable to find each other, so to speak. It is human to want connection, and your people are out there. Do not give up. Story 45. Accents of non-native English speakers when they speak English. It means this person speaks at least 2 languages. That's more than most English speakers. Story 46. Talking to people on the internet, whether it's on Reddit, games, or other platforms. I'm tired of having to be careful when I say I have online friends. No, that doesn't mean I'm looking for a husband or being strange. Maybe I'm odd sometimes, but having online friends doesn't inherently imply that. It's hard to make and keep good friends these days, whether online or in real life. You have to value that, not judge.